All right, John. Start with the beatboxing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, the Cle, Myself, and I podcast number 16. Today's date is 9/4/2020.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Anthony. I'm your host, Cle.
Yeah.
And here's my co-host, John.
Howdy.
Don't just say howdy.
Howdy
From the
doody.
South.
Hello.
Tell us, John, what do we have today?
You know
what? Before we start off, I want to go and bring up something important. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I'm sure you're not the only one, and I'm sure whoever is listening is not the only one. But I've been getting a lot of calls recently. I've just been bombarded with calls, and these are calls from people I do not know, like telemarketers, robocalls.
Right.
Why the hell is that happening?
With the numbers that are like not their number. What is that called again?
Spoofing your calls?
Spoofing your phone number.
Yeah, especially if they're spoofing it in your area.
With a very similar phone number. Like if you have a 916-503 number, you're going to get a lot of calls from 916-503 numbers. They try to get one.
Does your number start off with 503?
No, but it's one number removed from what mine starts off with.
Yeah, I can't remember your phone number.
It's the same as yours.
But you know what?
We start the same way.
All your numbers are online. You go and put your number online, guess what? Someone's going to take it.
You can look
Someone's
it up.
going to take it.
They
They're
have
going
phone
to use
records
it.
online.
You're going to sell that information. You're going to get calls. You're going to get these calls. And you know what? I don't want to get these calls, but you know what? I don't have a choice in the matter.
You get like 3 a day. I got one right as we were starting the recording here. I got one from Cortland, California.
You're lucky you got 3 in a day, because you want to know how much I'm getting? 5 to 10 a day.
Jesus, you gotta
sometimes
stop watching pornography.
Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yeah. Wow. What can you do about that? I mean,
why? Do you have a Pornhub account, John?
No. I don't see a point. I think I did. At the height of my days, I think I did. It was, just to keep track of things.
Uh-huh.
Just to keep track of what you like. In case you
did they ask for your number, though?
I don't think I would have put down any information like that. I think I even made a fake email for it.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was so paranoid. Like, oh my God, my parents are going to find out. Oh, man.
And then in the end, no one really gave a shit.
Nobody gives a shit. And even if they did, they probably wouldn't say anything.
All right. Well, let's get into some real news, even though I'd say that telemarketing, that's some real news.
It is.
I am getting sick and tired of it, and I'm not the only one.
It's annoying. I have a AT&T app that is supposed to block them. It probably only blocks 1 out of 4.
Is an app you download on the App Store?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to download that shit.
All right. I guess I'm the idiot.
I remember back in the day, I used to pick them up. I used to go and say, oh, yeah, is that so? I used to waste their time. And it got to a point where there was this one woman, and let's just say, I think she was into me. Like, she called me up the first time trying to, sell me stuff, and I was like, oh, no. I was very respectful, but, I was also wasting their time. And she goes and calls me up again and asks about how my day was, and asking me, stuff like that. And I'm like, uh-huh. And I'm like, goodbye.
I think she just say someone's into you is a loaded term that I don't think you can use when someone's just talking to you on the phone.
Have you ever watched the movie Red?
The movie Red. The That's the one that our dad likes with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And like all those guys. That's a terrible movie.
Okay, you have a bad taste in movies. You know what? Let's just move on from this shit.
What?
You're a boring person. This is why no one likes you.
Oh my god. Well, I'm not gonna argue with that. But you wanted to get to the news. Where do you want to start?
We could.
Where do you want to start?
Well, let's see. Something big happened yesterday.
What happened?
You don't know what happened, seriously? So, remember a couple days ago, we had a podcast, and we were talking about this one guy, Michael Reinhall or something like that. Anyways, he apparently shot a Trump supporter, Patriot Prayer guy, or something like that. And, you know, I was looking at the footage, and it really did look like he, you know, killed them. You know, he went and had an interview with the Vice News. Mm-hmm. And let's just say he claimed self-defense, and he said a bunch of stuff that, you know, if you watched, you know, the video, it didn't quite make sense where he was getting at. Saying it was self-defense, it really did look more like a murder.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are calling it an execution, but, you know. Yeah. Anyways, so, yeah. He did a interview with Vice.
Yeah.
And, like, shortly after, the authorities came there to, you know, arrest him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the big topics is, did Vice, you know, rat him out? And I mean, apparently Vice does have a history. I looked this up. John McAfee, I don't know why he's wanted by the feds, but the feds want him.
Knows a lot of shit, man.
Knows a lot of shit?
Insider shit, man.
Insider shit? Like cryptocurrency?
Oh, probably. I think
I know he shills for crypto.
Oh man.
But anyways, yeah, I guess they tipped him off to the feds, and you know, I don't really know what happened there, but you know, John McAfee's still around, so you know, obviously nothing too big happened. Anyways,
I think he's still running into the issues with the law, but all in good fun.
Yeah. He seems like a fun guy.
Yeah, that's one of his better traits. Yeah.
Yeah. Follow him on Twitter.
He's a wacky dude to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
But go on.
Anyway, so people are, you know, saying that, you know, if Vice, you know, tipped off the police, they would not be surprised. Anyways, the police come, and then there was a shootout, and it resulted in Michael Reinhall. I don't even know who Reinhardt is. Is that anybody?
Reinhardt. I don't know, man. Harder to write.
I don't know. But Reinhall, anyways, was shot and killed. Well, the police were trying to take him into custody. So, yeah. You know, you have a bunch of people online who are definitely on the right, going like, "Oh, we'd love to go and see what how much he was getting paid by George Soros."
Yeah, right.
And you know, like what he knew and everything. But yeah, so that's the position we're in right now. I remember in the Vice interview, he mentioned something about him kicking off a civil war by shooting that guy, and he kept saying self-defense. But I mean, you look at the
that's
video,
interesting. That's an
you listen to the witness witnesses' stories, it sounds more like a murder.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if I saw the video that you're talking about. Can you direct me to that video?
I don't have it on hand right now.
Do you think I can just look it up? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I didn't look it up.
Yeah, just look it up. Yeah, here's the thing. I don't save shit in my phone. Right. If I see a video, I go like, oh, wow, that's a good video. I don't go and, copy that video and put it in a, document so I can, direct people to it. Maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's important to do. That's a good habit to get into. And when you get that habit, then it's easy.
Yeah. But,
Is this the video? I don't think they have the video available.
No, I think it's one of those things where it's like someone kind of gets killed in the video. And that kind of becomes not really an appropriate video to see. Maybe it's on LifeLeak.
I don't know. I'm not going to go that far for it. Oh, this is the video. And it's broken down. It's got like, this is a possible gunman with the circle around it.
Oh, really? It's broken down. That's nice.
Where's this guy? Is that him? The gun right here? Yeah, possible gunman.
Yeah, he has a Black Lives Matter tattoo on his neck. Now, the funny thing is, I believe after it happened, 4chan, you know what 4chan is, right?
Yeah.
The politically incorrect section of 4chan, they're the type of people that will go like, oh, you do something wrong to one of us, we're going to find you. Anyways, they go and find the guy and, say like, oh, hey, it's this guy. And I'm sure that probably helped law enforcement as well.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out who it was, or at least, put into question, like, this guy's a possible suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, in the video, all you can see really is the Black Lives Matter tattoo on his neck.
I mean, I think the video I was looking at was really blurry.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but that's not good. I don't think that's a good idea to be shooting people and then trying to incite civil war. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's happening. I feel like we have this conversation every day.
Yeah.
But what the fuck? I mean, I don't know. I mean, like what's the appeal of starting a civil war for either side? I mean, like, I don't understand.
Well, you look at Antifa. Antifa is more of a confederation organization than it is of, just a regular old organization. You have Antifa Sacramento, Antifa LA, Antifa New York.
Mm-hmm.
And, they have their own leaders and they do their own thing, but they ultimately have the same ideology and they work towards that same ideology. Mm-hmm. And just because, you say you're against fascism does not necessarily make you a good person. Does not necessarily make you a good organization.
I have a great example of that.
All right, give it.
I have a great example of how proclaiming that you're anti-fascist doesn't mean shit.
I could give the same example.
After World War II, when Germany was comprised into different zones for the different allies, the British zone, the French zone, the American zone, and the Soviet zone. And then Berlin was broken in half between,
West Berlin.
All of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and East Berlin.
What ended up becoming West Berlin was like the British, French, and Americans part of Berlin. But there was a huge effort by the Allies in the early years after the war to denazify Germany, and each country had their own method of denazifying. And the Soviets, of course, were the toughest. they were the least charitable. So much so that a lot of people that were involved in the Nazi Party did their very best to escape into one of the other zones.
Yeah.
And what the Soviets prided themselves on was the fact that they were the ultimate anti-fascist state, basically by being 100% socialist. But they also claimed that because nobody was quite up to par with them in the anti-fascist spectrum, as they were thinking about it, that West Germany, or what ended up becoming West Germany, was what they claimed to be just a continuation of the same fascist government, which is obviously all just bullshit propaganda. But
of course,
what does that sound like? Doesn't that? I read that. I was reading.
Yeah, that sounds like
that
Antifa.
Sounds familiar. Sounds like Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, you can be anti-fascist, but just because you're on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, on the extreme side of the other side, it doesn't make it any better.
Yeah,
it's more problems.
Yeah, it's just like the Patriot Act. You have people that support the Patriot Act. You have people that don't support the Patriot Act. And, just because you don't support the Patriot Act does not necessarily make you not a patriot.
Right.
It's like, in
fact, you would almost
you can make that argument about basically everything.
Yeah. It's identity politics. It's the simplest way to just get someone to adhere to what you're saying and to agree with you.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'm getting a spam risk from Davenport, Iowa.
Wow. They're really coming at you.
Dude. They know we're talking about them.
Yeah.
They know. That's 2 calls. What the hell?
Probably being spied on. Gotta check for wires.
Dude, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah. It's no different from any of those cases.
Yeah. You look at Antifa, look at what they're fighting for. The important thing is, what is their end goal? And their end goal is to support some form of communism.
Mm-hmm. Or anarchy. Which they don't really necessarily support an anarchy, because when they did the anarchy zone, it ended up creating its own order.
Yeah, exactly.
So it had its own hierarchy. It was like, oh, well, that disproved your guys' thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at anarchy and you look at something like authoritarianism, which, I look at Antifa and they're pretty authoritarian.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's usually
isn't anarchy supposed to be like the opposite of, on the opposite side of the spectrum of authoritarian?
It's just dropping.
So they're not really anarchists, are they?
No. Like I said, nobody's really an anarchist by vouching for civilization to plunge into anarchy, because they don't even know what they're saying at that point.
Yeah. Because you're always going to have some form of leadership role.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way for society to function on the merits of just having what you have and being able to use the bartering system and stuff like that. But before all that, because I was just having this conversation actually, it's before all that, you kind of need a breakdown of world society first. Everything needs to just completely you need a fresh slate, because you can't even because once you go into that life, even if you changed everything, you're still going to be thinking about everything with the same kind of vocabulary and mindset that you have in this society. You're going to be inextricably tied to what we're doing in this civilization. So you need to completely wash it clean. It would need to be generations down the line too. It'd move very slowly. It wouldn't be all of a sudden.
Yeah. I think about anarchy, and I think about how could it actually work? And I don't think it could actually work with a big population. I think it can work in a small population, but a big population, you just add too many factors into it, and you're not gonna actually have anarchy.
Uh-huh.
Because
Well, I mean, like,
someone's gonna have to take charge.
see, when I think of anarchists too, like before 2020, like if you asked me a year ago about anarchists, I probably would have thought about the Spanish Civil War.
Yeah.
In the 30s, between the fascist government, the communists, and the anarchists. And the anarchists and the communists were kind of on the same side, right? Because they were just anti-Franco government.
Yeah, precisely. But they obviously lost.
Right, and they were fighting for different things. Like anarchists were just wanting to, if I'm not mistaken, I got most of my history from For Whom the Bell Tolls, but it sounds like anarchists were more for like trying to go back to a traditional way of Spain, and like where there's no like kingdom of Spain. It was just like local shit, basically.
Yeah.
But even that, so that inherently isn't really anarchy, because now you're having smaller orders of things. But it changes what order is. But so you think that that would be the mindset, but it's not with people who claim to be anarchists now. And again, I don't even know that anybody has a full grasp on anarchy, because people change the meaning of it all the time by using it in different ways. Like it's constantly changing, like every 5 or 10 years. And so, like, I don't even know exactly where I'm going with this, but like, don't you think that if maybe they read a book, they wouldn't like they wouldn't be having these issues? Like this really goes to show that we need to kind of like, I don't know, like, I get why a lot of us young people feel really alienated and whatnot, but you're not going to figure out things on your own with just like figuring it out. And you can't just go out there and change things. So there's got to be a sort of pragmatism that gets instilled in young people somehow. But that's definitely not going to come about through people like cheering for anarchy.
Yeah, well,
because like, okay, let me give you an example. If we have an anarchy situation in California, let's say the United States government no longer has any say over California, and the state government has been wiped out. Like Governor Newsom is on a stake, and it's just everybody's on their own here in California. Who the fuck's gonna help you guys? Who's gonna fucking like fight the fires, man? Who's gonna like the state's gonna burn no matter what? Like now we're like I said, we're inextricably tied to the way things are. Like there's a certain element of the way things are that it just can't change. Like we're never going to defeat the idea that order and like a hierarchy of who's in charge is going to come about. Like yes, absolutely, we can make it so that it's fair and that it's for liberty and it's honest, but you can't change that that's going to be a thing. Like it hasn't gone away for a reason. So I just think that I don't know, like I wish we could all just see more clearly.
I do too. I think the whole world would be a lot better if everybody could see more clearly. Mm-hmm. But people are too stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
Playing political games.
It's just like we have no perspective anymore because we're all in our own place, and we think that just by having our heads down, we have access to the universe, via our phones. And that just like, it just screws up because nobody's on the same page anymore.
Yeah.
And it just creates these kinds of issues where I don't even know, like when people are getting into arguments and they're like so entrenched in their own ideology, you almost wonder if they know what the other person's talking about, or even if they're talking about the same thing. It's so askewed right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I totally understand what you're getting at.
Yeah, and so like civil war is not the answer. Like I don't think that that's the way to go.
But it quite possibly might end up there, despite all that.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. I hope that.
I hope there is no civil war either.
I hope we can live to talk about it afterwards, at the very least.
Oh man, if there was a civil war, which side do you think would win?
I think the civil war would be good because it would create a third party.
I don't think it would create a third.
Yeah, it would. It would create a bunch of people that are like, "This is fucking stupid. I am not a part of this." Which they would be indirectly tied into the fighting somehow.
Yeah.
But if a civil war happened, it's all about who gets the military. Because that was the thing in the Spanish Civil War. Franco had the military.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I know I talked about it in a couple podcasts ago, but I said, what if Donald Trump won?
Right.
Would states secede? And if they did secede, well, I'm sure you'd have some people in the military that would go and say, well, I'm sorry, United States, but Washington seceded, and I'm from Washington, so I'm going to Washington, and I'm going to fight for Washington. Or they could go and say, well, you know what? I don't agree with what Washington did. I'm going to stay in the United States.
Right.
And that person's family is all in Washington, and I can't remember where the hell I was going with
I want
this.
to know the guy with the hypocritical genetics that went up against Lincoln, who wanted to preserve the Union, and said, "Nah, fuck that. We're going to keep our slaves." And then generations down the line, Washington wants to secede from the United States and from Trump's grip, and the next, like the fourth generation down from that Civil War era guy goes, "You know what? You got to keep the Union together. You can't just secede. You can't just leave like we're America." I want to imagine being that guy.
Well, here's the thing. You go down to the South, you go down up to Idaho, Midwest sort of thing. These Republican strongholds. And, you go and say, well, shit, what if California just seceded? I think they'd be happy. California holds a lot of power.
I think Idaho.
A lot of power in the United States. Economically speaking, we're pretty good. We're like the fifth largest economy because, we're a state of the United States. If we were no longer a state of the United States, we'd have to, have our own credit line on a national level.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd just be so many things you have to do. You have to go and do free trade agreements with other countries.
Right.
And,
that would fuck like
it would fuck up the economy for both the United States.
Exactly.
And
because it's not like California would come out of it and just be able to take their stake out of America and then, like you said, just have it the way it is. They'd be having to expend so many different things to make up for the fact that all of a sudden they're a nation now. And of course, the American economy would be fucking put in shambles because a huge, almost like a third of it just got taken away from you. It would crush that, thus crushing the global economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just would just be an avalanche of shit. And who would help? Who would get helped by that?
It would help China if they want global supremacy. I don't know where Russia is on the world scale, but I guess it would help. It would basically help every country.
It would help that group of.
And it would help those groups of countries that want, global supremacy.
Yeah.
Mind you, the U.S. already has a global supremacy, so.
Right. The U.S. and its allies.
Yeah. Although technically we can kind of just do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were president of the United States, what would be the first thing you'd do?
Oh, what would be the first thing I would do?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I don't know where to start. First, I would probably pull out troops from. Well, first I would have to go and say, all right, Germany and Japan. In 5 years, we're going to pull out all our troops. You're going to have to go and start building up your military. I think 5 years is, good amount of time for them to, build up their military to be, competitive.
Probably wouldn't take Germany very long.
No, I don't think it'd take Germany very long. And if I remember correctly, this was when Shinzo Abe, before he resigned, or I guess he's resigning or something like that.
Yeah, due to health reasons.
Yeah. I believe he wanted to build up Japan's military as well. So,
it's getting to that point where you gotta, and same thing with South Korea, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we can't be the world's military.
No.
We spend too much. We spend too much money on foreign wars.
Mm-hmm.
Money that we could, spend to lower the frickin' deficit, because that will eventually be a problem.
Like, why don't they just? This sounds so like something that would come out of Trump's mouth, but it's a liberal kind of thing to want Germany, South Korea, and Japan to get like full military reign back. Why don't you just make a deal with them where they have to buy American arms, right?
Yeah.
There, you can keep your American arms economy boom going, and probably fall still significantly.
I mean, they already buy American arms.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
but they'll buy it at a larger scale.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, why don't you do that? I mean, and then, I mean, I don't feel all that great saying that, because you're still advocating for, like, the circulation and universalization of modern weaponry, but it's necessary.
Yeah,
it's just if you don't do it, the other side's gonna do it.
Exactly.
So it's not as long as it's not used for excessive force, then go for it, right?
Yeah, it's not like some of these countries in the Middle East where we sell them American weapons, and somehow they end up in the hands of terrorists.
That's the worst.
Yeah, these countries, Germany, South Korea, and Japan. I don't think they'd end up in.
They would not be getting involved with
Russia or or North Korea or North Korea, because I guess North Korea is still a threat to Japan. Just because they're nearby.
I think I don't know, man. Can you do any of that? Tensions are so high in that region with China and North Korea that it's just, I don't know. Because if you give them all their militaries back, it's going to piss off, the aforementioned adversaries.
Oh, yeah. It'd piss off North Korea because, North Korea would have to look at, we'd still have, they'd still be our allies, if North Korea attacked South Korea.
Right. But all of a sudden now they're looking at 3 people with their finger on the trigger as opposed to 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, talk about one of the things that people mention with them doing erratic things is the fact that their leadership is very paranoid.
Absolutely.
Being an isolated nation, it makes sense.
Yeah, no one knows what the hell is going on with North Korea at the moment because people are saying, "Oh, where's Kim Jong-un?"
Still, like people are
still saying that.
I mean, he made public appearances, but people are wondering if his health's good. He's doing okay.
Yeah, some people are even saying it's a body double.
Right, I've heard that too. I didn't want to say it. Pardon me.
You're pardoned.
Wow. Didn't expect that to come out. Yeah.
But yeah, these areas are just destabilized, but I don't think if they, went up in chaos, they'd go and, use weapons against the U.S.
but everybody else, whatever, right?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, you have a very complicated situation in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these other situations around the world, they're complicated, but they're not as complicated as Middle East as the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll remain complicated for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
You had World War One happen, and around the world, you know, you had all these first world nations, you know, chopping up their colonies to create, you know, nations.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they just drew lines. They didn't really look into it much. And a lot of the problems in in these former colonies, including the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also looking at Africa. They just drew a line, said, all right, this is your country now.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun.
Mm-hmm. True.
And then, you know, you get something like Sudan.
Oh.
Yeah. What, you don't know what happened in Sudan?
No, enlighten me, man.
All right, so there was a Sudanese civil war between the North and South. And, you know, they drew, just because I believe the North was Muslim and the South was Christian.
Oh, great.
And they just didn't agree on government policy.
Fantastic. That always sets up a nice mix.
And so, yeah, you now have North Sudan, and now have South Sudan in a very bloody civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's never really talked about, but, you know, nothing's really talked about in Africa anyways.
No, it's like the least covered part of the world. And it
and the interesting
comprises
thing about
one
Africa,
of the largest masses.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Africa is there's something going on there every day.
There's so many different countries, so many different cultures and peoples.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about Africa, but you know, you have these news organizations that won't even bother to cover them.
Right. Yeah, I guess you have to talk to the people that have gone there. People that have, you know, notable figures that have either studied that, written about it, or whatever, traveled there. That's where you get your most interesting stuff. Not like National Geographic, where they're just like, look at these people in their colorful clothes.
Oh yeah, look at these giraffes over here.
They're just
doing their own thing.
It is so pretty.
Look at these people hunting a lion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like,
National Geographic.
It's just it gets used for its exoticism.
Yeah.
It gets exoticized, and nobody knows jack shit about it.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a reason why it's not really taught much in schools. It's because we get most of our history from Europe.
Well, you know what is taught in schools?
What?
Fucking Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad.
Not really. I read that in college.
That's school.
Yeah.
And people read it in high school, because, you know, as a lit major, it's like when I got assigned it and I talk about it with other lit majors, it's like, oh, there's like a third, maybe half of the people I talked to were like, yeah, I read that in high school.
Oh. Yeah, it's actually a pretty easy to follow book for, you know, you non-readers out there.
It's really well written.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was
Joseph Conrad. That's right, Joseph Conrad.
Yeah, and so my point with that is like, yeah, we don't learn anything about Africa, but we learn about this book that was written by an English guy about Africa. And then, of course, there was Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe.
Oh yeah, I read like.
And that was his way of saying, look, we do have fucking culture over here, dumbass. Great book. Basically, that's what he said when that book came out.
Yeah. I read that book in college as well.
It's like, we don't
Very
need to
easy
read.
to follow book. I'd say it's easier to follow than Heart of Darkness. So, for all you illiterate people out there,
It's just a really good book.
You can read Heart of Darkness, and then you can go and say like, "Hey guys, I read a book, and I actually learned something."
It's great. It's a fantastic book. Read that in high school and in college.
Yeah. One of these good books, and surprisingly, I'm not much of a reader myself, but surprisingly, I've read them.
Yeah, well, you've read some of the ones that I would say are like, I think every American should read.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would consider Heart of Darkness a book that every American should read, but if I'm gonna say Things Fall Apart then I'm gonna say, in relation to that, you should read Heart of Darkness first.
Yeah.
1984. I mean, and again, none of these people I'm mentioning are American writers, I know, but they're necessary to read. Brave New World.
Never read Brave New World, but yeah, I know what it's about.
Yeah. That's all.
Also, I think 1984 is pretty relevant to today.
Especially, it's always relevant. It's always relevant.
You see that one guy in the subway without a mask, and the cops basically just like, this is in England. They basically tackle him and arrest him.
Jesus. 1984. Big Brother's watching you.
Yeah. And I mean, you really want to get into it. Look at Australia.
Australia, dude. Yeah. I just saw something where Australia's been arresting people for getting involved in anti-COVID demonstrations.
Yeah.
There's a musical artist that I follow, and like he posts this. I don't know if it was him recording the thing or if it was a friend or something, but like they just went into this person's house and arrested them for that because they attended these rallies and tweeted about it.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And I think Australia just passed a law, like a series of laws that have been like, that allows the government to act in a totalitarian way. I don't know exactly which they are. I'd have to look it up. But you'd absolutely, when you said Australia, I'm like, fuck yeah. Shit.
Yeah, which I'd say is certainly the more bigger one when compared to the one that happened in Britain. But yeah, there was some pregnant woman, and I guess she was starting up a protest group on Facebook or something like that, anti-lockdown demonstration, and or anti-masks demonstration. I don't know what's going on down there, but the police come to her house and they arrest her. Damn. And then I remember the one with the guy where the police are outside, guy opens up the door, and he's filming, and then they tackle him, right?
Okay,
that's all you're gonna say to me?
Wait, yeah, I think you said they tackled him, right? And I'm like, okay, you go on. That's it?
Yeah. Hey, that's all I remember from the video.
Man.
But yeah, just a lot of crazy shit that's happening, a lot of authoritarian shit that's been going on. And yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to find anything because I don't know exactly what to look up. What should
we can talk about it in the next podcast.
Oh, wait. Yeah, this is the video.
Which one?
A woman in Australia has been arrested and charged with incitement after promoting an anti-lockdown protest. Sparking criticism. A video of the arrest shared on Facebook has been viewed more than 7.5 million times, leading many to condemn the officers' preemptive action in detaining the woman in her pajamas. Yeah, that was the sad thing, is they literally came into her house and she's just like, it was like in the morning. The arrest of Zoe Lee Bueller, 28, was live streamed on Facebook Wednesday by her partner, with the video showing Victoria police officers entering her house with a warrant and putting Bueller in handcuffs. You're under arrest in relation to incitement, says one of the officers, explaining that Bueller is being detained due to a Facebook post about an anti-lockdown protest at Ballarat, Southern Australia. Bueller says she's pregnant, has an ultrasound in an hour, and that she has not broken any laws. The officer corrected her, saying, "You are breaking the law. That's why I'm arresting you."
Yeah, so you essentially have these governments, they're passing laws, becoming more authoritarian, and, you know, you have some people that are A-okay with it. You have some people that are obviously, you know, not okay with it, and then you have these other people that are like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And I don't know. We talk about civil war in this podcast, but, you know, I do think first world nations are going to become more authoritarian over time.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, look at that. And it's a problem from both sides, because, like, in Australia, it sounds like the government's pretty left, and they're just kind of slowly creeping over the people.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about that, but in places like Germany, it sounds like you got like Merkel's government, very practical. You know, aside from the refugee thing, like, they didn't really do anything notably to the people around the globe that was like controversial, you know. Yet, like, there's all these agitators and right wingers that are like trying to gain political power, and then they kind of awake the sleeping giant that is like people who are neo-Nazis and far-right extremists and whatnot. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you combine those two with the momentum of, you know, these kind of rising groups that are sort of far-right. By merging them closer to the right, now they're all of a sudden taking on these, you know, extremist values. Yeah. And so that grows in popularity. And then when you combine that with the idea that people are out here, you know, like losing their jobs, being furloughed. Now, Germany gives a lot of furlough checks out to people. I don't know exactly what happens when they go on unemployment, or if they go on unemployment, but, you know, people are uncertain and they're skeptical of things. And so you have people that agitate and they really thrive off that. And so that's exactly how you get the opposite. And then, like, once you get to that point, like, once you're talking about two extremes of each side of the political spectrum, like, both touching down and becoming totalitarian, and then there is no spectrum. You know what I mean?
If you look at the political compass, you know, it has authoritarian on top, libertarian on the bottom, left on the left, right on the right.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the best representation of, you know, what people's viewpoints are, but I think it's, you know, in general, pretty decent in terms of, like, you can be on the right. You can be an authoritarian on the right. You can
be a libertarian.
Libertarian on the right. Or you could just be right in the middle, where you go like, yeah, I believe we need some laws, but, you know, we don't need all these other laws. You know, you could be anywhere on the left-right spectrum, but you can also be on the authoritarian and libertarian spectrum. And in a way, it kind of opens up people's eyes, you know, to those who realize, you know, it's not the best representation, but, you know, it's decent enough.
Right.
That you can be anywhere on that.
Well, I think, you know, actually, I'm going to give credit to this representation, because I think most people exist somewhere in the, like well close to the middle of it. No one's, like, on the edge anywhere. Because, like, nobody's going to be in the bottom right corner. Nobody's 100% libertarian, 100% far right. Like, that's just not, that doesn't make any sense. Because if you're far right, you're probably anti-marijuana legalization, but if you're libertarian, you would be pro-marijuana legalization. There's contradictions there.
Yeah.
So like nobody really like while there is that option for someone to go there, and it may be unrealistic, when you look at the facts, nobody ends up there. So it is kind of an accurate representation when you look at like averages and where people end up.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is you could be totally on the right, totally authoritarian, but you could think that marijuana should be legalized, in which case you're going to still remain in that upper right quadrant, and you're not really going to be on that libertarian type quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess it's a half, because I believe that one's measured by authoritarian, libertarian. Anyways, what I'm saying is, they basically just average everything out. You don't really get the viewpoints of what you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of came out.
Yeah, no. I mean, I get your point. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. So it's interesting that we gotta run through that to kind of get a better grasp on not wanting to generalize too much when you talk about ideology.
Yeah.
Especially in foreign governments.
Because in the end of the day, you could be like right in the middle with someone else right in the middle, and you could believe in totally different stuff.
Right.
Just because you answered things differently.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that I'm interested in talking about, because this is somewhat related to political spectrums, but also not really. And I am kind of just changing the subject. So you were telling me earlier about the Atlantic article that had come out.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to talk about that?
So the Atlantic article came out basically saying, Trump does not respect veterans, and, you can probably make that argument just due to what he said about John McCain. In general, yes. Like he said something like,
not a war hero.
I don't like those who've been captured.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. Anyways, I was reading it, and some people, other people are reading it, and they're discussing on Twitter. And the thing is, someone went and filed a FOIA request, which is a Freedom of Information request, and basically what happened was this guy, John Leopold. He I'm sorry.
With the dogs in the background? It's okay.
Yeah, you guys hear it, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I can hear it. And I'm sure that people love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Anyways, Jason Leopold, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
He basically files a FOIA request for BuzzFeed News, and he did file a request for that day in 2018, the one the article refers to, about Trump not going to the memorial.
Right.
Basically saying that it's raining. And the article goes and says that, hey, that's false.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at the actual FOIA request.
Don't worry about the dogs. It's not even that big of a distraction.
People look at, when you look at the FOIA request, it's like the Navy. Navy's like, yeah, it's raining that day, visibility's low, going by helicopter, highly unlikely. And you see, the Atlantic's article, said that, that was false.
Mm-hmm.
that was untrue.
Mm-hmm.
But you have, an actual document from the Navy for a FOIA request saying something completely different, which then makes me call into question whether that story is true or not. Because here's the thing: you misrepresent a story. You basically just now for someone like me, if someone misrepresents a story, then now I'm just questioning the entire story.
Right.
Now it's not news to anyone that Trump has said not really good things about the military, but
most people would probably assume too that he uses that, as well as evangelicals, because everybody knows the fact that he's the furthest thing from religious. Everybody knows the fact that he didn't fight in Vietnam while everybody else did.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove that to people, but you can tell that these articles are timed very. They are simply trying to pull the support where it is. We know that, but there's a huge faction of Trump's, support that are veterans and people not preoccupied, but people concerned with veterans affairs. And Trump just sits on that and he takes it for granted. Now, I guess we're saying, if people were really paying attention, if people really wanted to know the truth, they would be able to pick that out about Donald Trump pretty quickly. You wouldn't need an Atlantic article. So, to anybody that didn't need the Atlantic article, whether they came up with the decision on their own that Trump's full of shit, or that they still believe Trump is 100% for veterans and wouldn't do anything for veterans, they're going to just be really pissed, and they're going to all of a sudden be skeptical, of this major publication. Now, the Atlantic, I would say, personally, in my experience of knowing about the Atlantic, they're pretty good about not getting too partisan. So it's kind of surprising, but, I don't know who owns the Atlantic. I don't know who can call the editor and be like, hey, we need to do this one thing for me, I don't know if that's exactly how it works either, but like I said, or like you said, one little malfunction in the integrity department, and all the integrity is questioned.
Yeah, so it's all about that integrity.
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 Okay.
You don't watch South Park, so you would not understand.
I guess. I wish I did.
Oh, it's on Hulu.
Well, I guess I gotta get on Hulu.
Yeah, I'll give you the username and password.
All right. You want to do it on air?
What?
Do it right now. Give it to everybody.
No.
If you're so adamant about us not having any listeners, give us your Hulu username and password on the air.
No.
No.
I don't give my password to anyone. I work for no one.
That's cool. It's almost an hour into this thing, and we haven't talked about Pelosi.
Ah, the big one. Darn, we should have brought up Pelosi before we brought up the article about the Atlantic.
Well,
yeah,
I don't know. I
coincided with coronavirus.
I don't really think we need to spend too much time on the Pelosi thing. I think it's pretty well established.
Yeah, people who, people who take sides are already taking sides.
Exactly. I heard it. Someone, I don't remember who it was, said that you're basically you have Pelosi, this really polarizing figure as it is. You have a controversy with her. Instantly, the controversy is going to just have two sides to it. It's going to be polarizing itself.
It's the same thing with a whole bunch of other people.
Exactly. And like we were talking about on the last podcast too, she's such a political superstar that she has a following and she has people who don't like her. you know? And as the reporter who was saying it described, you got the Yas Queen crowd, and you got the, like, other crowd that doesn't like Pelosi. I don't think he had a special name for them. But, so it doesn't even matter what goes on. And you know what would be good? You know what would have been great for American politics? If Pelosi just would have been like, look, I shouldn't have done it that way. I maybe there was a misunderstanding. There's no, like, excuse I can say. Like, I stand up for social distancing restrictions and all these COVID restrictions, and I had a lapse in judgment. If she just came out and was, like, really upfront about it, instead of coming out and say, like, this was a setup. Like, this is a fucking setup. Like, now you've all of a sudden created a fucking explosion in a battleground in an area where there just didn't need to be anything like that.
Yeah.
We're literally talking about Nancy Pelosi getting her hair done. Like, what?
Inside.
Well, I know.
Without a mask.
But I know, but it all boils down to we literally have potentially a political scandal because someone got a haircut. Yeah, it broke the restrictions. I get it. And people were giving haircuts outside for a while in San Francisco. I know. All I'm saying is this whole thing could have been avoided if she would have just acted like an adult about it. Because someone needs to be the adult. and sadly, this is what's happened to politics, is nobody has been the adult. The Democrats were presented with an opportunity to be the adult, the one pushing the cart with a little brat inside it, but they ended up being the second little brat inside it, and it's just a cart in the middle of the aisle that nobody has claimed. It's a mess. But anyways.
Yeah.
People are protesting Mulan.
What?
People are protesting Mulan.
Yeah, well, I mean, people already said they were going to boycott Mulan, so...
$29.99. On top of it being on a streaming service.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, what's it called? Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
You ever use Amazon Prime, John?
You can, like, rent the movie for, like, $3.
Yeah, you have the option to... So you have your own catalog of stuff you can watch with your Amazon Prime subscription.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can also watch, you can also rent movies. But, I mean, technically speaking, it was renting movies before it was a streaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
So, that makes sense. You have something like Disney Plus. They're like, a platform like Netflix or something like that. And, they're trying to make that extra money by renting movies. And, I think people don't really have a problem with it given COVID. I think more people would have a problem with it if it was, pretty standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like my question is, so we're doing this for Mulan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will Mulan ever appear on Disney Plus, or will it just, will they decrease the price of the rental and you just get to rent it and you don't actually get to own it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like when will it appear on Disney Plus for the price of admission?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just don't want it becoming a regular thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
What another reason why people are protesting Mulan, or I guess boycotting Mulan, is just because she was pretty favorable about
the actress, you should say.
Yeah, the actress.
Not
the
the
actress
fictional character Mulan.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense why the fictional character Mulan would be pretty pro-Chinese government.
Yeah, but
gotta keep those Mongols out, man.
Yeah, the actress was pro-police during the Hong Kong protests.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
back in 2019, and that pissed off a bunch of people.
I mean, it should. I mean, that's pretty. That's pretty
Yeah.
like, come on. That's effectively like saying. It's almost like to a lot of these people, that's like saying you're a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Except you're. By saying that you're a supporter of basically a whole regime, implicates you in a lot more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, people boycotting Milan. And you know what? It's their right to boycott.
I guess.
It's not like they're actively trying to get it canceled.
Well, they can't. It's Disney.
Yeah. You can't cancel Disney.
No.
Trust me. I remember one time I said to someone that, I don't really have that need to go to Disneyland like everybody else. And, that person was like, well, why? And I said, well, I've gone to Disneyland multiple times, and, it's basically the same thing every single time. It's not really something I need to do like everybody else. And that person was like, well, I wish I could say that.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. For people in Northern California, or someone that just doesn't live in Southern California, like, come on. Like, that's just the case. Like, the only thing that gets you, like, if you live in Southern California, you go to Disneyland. But if you live outside of Southern California, you really only go to Disneyland more than once or twice.
What about if you live in Las Vegas?
Okay, if you don't live within, like, a 200-mile radius of Anaheim. How about that?
All right, fine.
Like, they probably, like, the only reason that you would go to Disneyland more than once or twice in your life is because you were financially able to.
Yeah, or, someone that works at the Disney store, and I believe in one of their many locations around the U.S., and, when you're a Disney employee, you get to bring in up to 3 other people into the park for free. It's about 16 times, so.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy that people would work at Disney just for that.
Yeah, well, now you can work at Disney and get, college paid for. Think about it. You could just work part-time at the Disney store, go and get an online degree, and after...
Yeah, but now you're making that super... I think we've talked about this before on the podcast.
No, we haven't.
You're decreasing the value of that type of education. I mean, that was the same thing that happened.
Well, yeah, we have.
Yeah. Like, it's the same thing as like having your high school diploma was like enough. And if you got your college degree, then you were guaranteed a job. Then it quickly became like the next step up, where it's like, you better better have your high school diploma. And yeah, you're going to need a college degree. But if you want to get a job, you're probably going to need a master's. And it's going to just going to keep going. Just going to keep going. Especially if you just make master's degrees ubiquitous.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. You have all these college graduates, people with a bachelor's degree. They have a bachelor's degree and they can't really find a good paying job. So what are they going to do? Well, they can work at a company and maybe get lucky, put in enough hard work, and like I said, get lucky, and, get promoted. Or you can go get a master's degree in, like, business and administration, economics, some financial degree of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to that company and, you'd probably get, first, you'd get higher pay. Second of all, you'd probably be more likely to get promoted.
Wow.
Because people look at that degree and they go and say, oh, that's a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
You must be qualified.
I guess my question then becomes...
though I've looked at master degree curriculum, and I've gone like,
Well, this is exactly the point that I'm leading to. Is it's like, how long is it going to take until they see that, and then they go, well, we better check out where they went and what they studied. Because, like, you could get a freaking master's degree in, like, I don't know, like philosophy. That's pretty good. I feel like if you get a master's in philosophy, it's better than just having a BA in philosophy. But if you're getting your master's in, like, communications, shut the fuck up. What are you bringing to the table that someone with just a BA with communications isn't bringing to the table?
Exactly.
It's bullshit. It's like, I got my master's in, like, marine biology. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you should probably be a lead, marine biologist here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Like, that's a good, like, that makes sense.
It does.
But just getting a master's in some hoo-ha course.
What's it called? Gender studies? Women's studies?
Yeah. Talk about academic theory.
Which is, it's all just academic theory. And,
the shame with academic theory is it's so influential, but it's so boring that you could take your mind off academic theory for 20 years and come back to it. And all of a sudden, things are just completely different. And rules change just like that. And political thought is like follows suit, and then all sorts of things just happen. We've talked about that before too. The rise of the humanities and the fault with that. The humanities thrives on the idea that you write theses that are very original and that are groundbreaking because you get the people's attention. So if you take it to these things and you start magnifying these issues that, a lot of the things that happen in gender studies and in queer LGBTQ kind of realm and whatnot, all the beginnings of that are great because you're calling attention to a viewpoint that should be taken to light, and you get into the theoretical stuff of how they're viewed upon and how that affects them. But then when you start writing the code of how society should work based on that and only that, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah. And like I was leading to with the idea that all your theses have to be original, is you're going to have opportunity for the reach, where you're going to make this claim and you can back it up. And just because you can back it up, all of a sudden, because it's groundbreaking and nobody's said it before, it has merit. But it could be the most bonehead idea ever. That, ideas like, what was that one in the support my support of looting. The fucking idea that small businesses are oppressive. I worked in a small business for like 3 years. Like, they're just trying to make the rent, man. Like, what the fuck? Someone living in the Bay Area for 5-6 years, like, that's just like, these small businesses are just trying to fucking make it, man. Like, what the hell are you talking about? They pay a lease, man. Like, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I just don't get the idea that small businesses could be oppressive. Like, what? That is one of the things that makes America America, regardless if you want to or not, is the idea that someone can start their own fucking business. It's the free market idea. Now, capitalism has led to a lot of exploitation of the free market idea and exploitation of workers.
Which is why you need regulation.
Exactly. And mixing in other types of political theories and ideas, so getting a little bit of a mutt going on is not a bad idea. It's okay to be for the free market and for certain things that would be considered socialist. It's okay to be a democratic socialist and be pro-free market.
Yeah.
But nobody fucking, it's like nobody can fucking seem to figure that out. Like, that whole idea that you have to reach has like fallen into not only people writing these academic theory papers in academic theory. They're taking it into their own lives where they have to be the one that's different. Like the fucking you meeting in winter break after your first semester of fucking college, and you always have that one that's fucking communist. You got that friend that's the fucking communist.
Yeah.
I think I said that in the last podcast.
You did.
Jimmy the stoner, Johnny the communist, and whatever the other thing. Whatever.
Yeah, or in which case I said there's nothing wrong with being gay, John.
Right. I know. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that at all. But, and yes, of course, there's nothing wrong with being gay. You don't need to clear that up for me.
Well, I'm sorry. You're talking about a stoner.
No. But it.
I don't think highly of those people.
Well, I'm a stoner, and I don't think that's a bad thing. You could be a high-functioning stoner, not let it ruin your life.
Yeah. Go to Silicon Valley. Everybody's LSDing on
microdosing on LSD.
Yeah, microdosing LSD, and yeah.
The scary thing is the idea that people can take psychedelics and still be like leaders of big corporations and not feel guilty.
Yeah, it's illegal, and the only reason why you're probably getting away with it is because.
No. I'm talking about what you feel and like what you do, like your certain worldview. Like I don't know how their worldview hasn't been altered or changed or evolved into one that's more caring. I don't know why one of them doesn't just come out of a trip and go, I'm gonna fucking like give everybody in my town $1,000 check that makes less than $60,000.
Maybe think about it like this. Maybe, just maybe, they were like you. They went and took these psychedelics and just became the way they are.
Or you mean they already were the way they are?
No. What I'm saying is, maybe their psychedelics changed their view and they are the way they are because of those psychedelics.
No, but that doesn't happen. When people change because of it, because two things happen when you take a psychedelic. You're either like, I fucking hate that shit, I'm never doing that again, which I had never really met anybody like that. Or, really? Right, because most people that are doing it are going in there with a pretty open mind. Like, if you go in there with an open mind, like, just the idea of taking mushrooms or acid, you have to have an open mind for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just by going into that, you're open to change. And then if you're open to change and you get faced with these kind of like realities and you start thinking about the way things are, it's hard to get away from just, you can't bullshit yourself when you're on those. You're in such a real position. Like, your ego is like there and everything is there, man. Like who you are, what is I, and all that kind of crap.
Yeah,
breaks you down into that. And so like my point is after such a crazy experience like that helps you understand the unity of the universe, how do you not come out of it acting like a good person? How do you come out of it going like, how can I maximize my profits this year?
You're a business, John.
I know, but I'm just saying. What's the
purpose of a business?
I'm not saying that that's not the purpose of a business. I'm just saying it's interesting. Like you talk about the microdosing trend. It's like something makes me believe that it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I have like an overarching theory for that, but it's just interesting. But it just rubs me the wrong way. It's like, oh yeah, it was so cool. Microdose. Who cares? We'll lobby for the same old political system. Who cares?
We'll donate. Do you get anything from microdosing on LSD or something like that?
Well, it's a shorter experience, I think, and it's confined into that shorter experience. I've never done it. Whenever I've engaged in that activity, I usually just take the whole poop. I go all at it, 1 or 2 tabs are like 4 grams of mushrooms. Like I don't take a little bit. So I don't know if I guess that's a good question. Like they're obviously not, like you have to be on a high dosage to kind of reach those kind of like mind altering levels. So I guess, I don't know. I think, because like that term microdose, people throw that around all the fucking time. And it's like, I don't know what you mean. Like you microdosed. It's a small dosage. So it's like, I guess you can't really have, I guess you're right, Cle. For someone who made sense to me, you're just not having that experience. You're having a different experience.
Yeah.
It's just much smaller. And then it's like, I mean, like you get everybody likes to say that the big benefit of microdosing with psychedelics is that it helps your mood and it helps like depression and like your energy's better and you just feel better. And I get that. Like, it's like a little taste of that. Because like if you had a trip every week, like trip balls like twice a week just to like keep your mood up, you'd probably go crazy.
Yeah, it's probably also unhealthy.
Yeah, it's probably not good neurologically to overindulge in anything.
Yeah.
I mean, people become schizophrenic from too much pot.
Really?
Yeah. I think I heard that in passing. It's like with high-powered edibles.
Yeah.
You take too much of that shit, man, you just fucks up your head.
Okay, it makes sense. It's edibles.
You're ingesting it right into your body. You're digesting it. Like, ah.
Yeah. I remember I was taking this biology class, and we were talking about marijuana, and it's like, you're probably not going to overdose on marijuana, but you would probably overdose on edibles because it's something you can just eat, digest in the system.
Yeah, you can get really
in your body.
Yeah, you can get really fucked up from that.
Yeah.
So just beware. Be careful. If you're doing more than 300 milligrams in an edible, maybe consult somebody. Take it easy. I've known many people that take 500 milligram brownies though, and they're just like, yeah, it was heavy. I just fell asleep.
Damn, John, you're making me hungry for brownies.
Well, Cle, maybe we can.
And I don't even do drugs.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could change that someday.
Never gonna happen.
Well, when it does happen, we'll be sure to be doing a podcast. Wouldn't that be great? For the if we get to the 1000th episode of Cle, Myself, and I, you have to do something. How about that?
I'll do something legal.
Okay. By that time, mushrooms will be legal.
We'll see.
All right. Well, Cle, you want to sign off?
Yeah. So I believe I said it was September 4th, 2020. It's we're gonna go and upload this podcast in a little bit. And yeah, if you like it, share it. Seriously, share it. Like we have a couple viewers that we don't know who the hell they are. I go and say, "Hey, Ma, you listen to our podcast?" No, no, not at all. But we do have a viewer or two where we don't even know who they are. So that's good. We'd like more. So share a video. Or share a podcast. I mean, technically, I am uploading these podcasts to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, share it.
Oh yeah,
share it with your friends.
Hell yeah!
And if you're one of those people, share it with your family.
If you like your family, share it with your family. Or if you don't like your family, maybe even better.
Yeah.
Dump us off on them.
Yeah.
Or dump. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
Well, Cle.
All right.
Another good one, folks. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.